It's not over when you lose, it's over when you quit. No matter what, no matter how many times we have to try in different ways, we're going to keep going until we're successful.
Genuinely caring about people, you can't make that up. You have to actually care.
Right. All right, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Success in South Florida podcast. I'm your host, Adam Rossen, and on today's episode, we got a very special 2-for-1 deal today. We have Mena Maimone and her mom, Rocki, from Maimone Legal. And so Mena is an amazing immigration attorney. As Rocki told me a few months ago when we went to lunch, she is the momager and the business manager, and she is, well, I'll say it, you did not say this, but I'll say it. You are the Kris Kardashian to Mena's being Kim. Okay, you're running the show. So right. The more natural version, of course. So welcome to the show. And before we get into it, let's just kind of talk a little bit about, who you guys are and what are you currently doing? And then we can kind of dive deep into the past and go through your superhero origin story.
All right.
Thank you for having us, Adam.
Yes, thank you.
Do you want to take it away?
You do it. You do it.
She always wants to put things on me. So, like Adam said, we're a mother-daughter team, and we started this firm about two and a half years ago. And I had graduated from Nova. I had a passion for immigration as being an immigrant myself from Canada, and having been through a bunch of different visas ourselves. I went to my mom and I said, "Mom, you have a ton of business experience. I have the degree. Let's open a firm." And she was resistant because she was retired and lounging by the pool here in South Florida.
Having a pretty good life.
Right.
Yeah.
Gave in after a while, and we started just the two of us in one room. We started helping Canadians like us, and now we can help really anyone from any country, and we've grown to a team of around 20 now, so very exciting. We have two other attorneys that work with us as well, so we offer a wide range of immigration services when it comes to either an investor visa, family-based petitions, naturalizations. We offer it all. And we also have estate planning services, so wills, trusts to protect your assets, and some business law too, so we do it all. We're a one-stop shop.
Really? That's so cool. And, for you because you graduated law school just a few years ago and you pretty much just have that entrepreneurial mindset of, I'm just going to start a firm, forget it. I don't want to, I don't need to spend the 3 to 10 years honing my craft, working for somebody else. We're just going to do it right off the bat. I mean, I really, really respect that. So that's an amazing job. Now, so Rocki, kind of give us a little bit of this origin story, because I know you're both from Canada. Okay. So walk us through this journey years ago with immigrating from Canada to the United States.
So my parents were immigrants to Canada from Italy. So I was a little Italian kid growing up in Ontario. And then fast forward a few decades later, one day it was a blizzard. The middle of February, it was blizzard outside. It was crazy. And Mena was on her spring break in university. And she literally walked into the living room and said, "Mom, let's get out of here." And I said, "You know what? That's a good idea." And then we started looking at places we could just run away to for 4 or 5 days. And ultimately we ended up in Miami. Rented a convertible. We really didn't have an itinerary. We said, we're just going to ride the coast, go down to the Keys. We had the time of our lives.
Cool.
Yeah. And then on the way home, I thought, maybe I'm going to get a little condo down there so we can do this more often. Well, I started talking to friends of mine who own a RE/MAX office here in Fort Lauderdale. Started looking at return on investment, cost of housing, and I was just flabbergasted at how much less it was. And then I went to Mena, my husband, and I said, "Hey, guess what, guys? We're moving to Florida."
We're moving. That's it.
Are you
We
crazy?
didn't believe her. We're like, yeah, okay.
I said, "Yeah, we can retire." I was 47 at the time. I said, "I can retire. I've done the math. I want to hang out at the beach, and it's time." And that started our journey. We came down on an E2 visa. We later migrated to an EB-5 visa as a family. And then, as Mena mentioned, she wanted to open her own firm, and I was in relax mode. So a few
Right.
times I said, just go to work somewhere, have a lovely life, leave me alone. And then one day, I tell this story, she literally grabbed me by the arms and looked straight in my eyes and said, Mom, do you remember what you were like at my age? And I'm like, yes, this kid's not going to leave me alone until we do this. So I said, okay, let's do it. And that's what kind of started the journey.
Wow, that's really cool. Now, Rocky, what was your background in? Because I know you had a very successful business background.
Yeah, so originally I got a master's in education. I was a school teacher. And then I realized very quickly that I was an entrepreneur. And then I moved into a number of different areas. I had a marketing firm. We did business to business. I tried it all. If it looked like a good opportunity, let's do it. And then most recently, before I left Canada, I owned a 69-bed assisted living facility. And it was a great business, but it never closed.
Right.
3 a.m. you're getting a phone call. And so when I did the math, I thought I'm going to sell the retirement home and some other properties, and life's looking really good. And so that's what I did. Sold the retirement home, planned on doing nothing when I first got here, and I did. And that lasted a little longer because of COVID. And then I got my real estate license. I've always had a passion for real estate. And I have done motivational speaking, business structuring, mentoring.
Mhm.
I mean,
I think one thing that you're kind of leaving out is your ability to take a company or a business that's not doing well
mm,
and scale it, 10, 20 times in the way that you found it. So that's a real skill of hers as well when it comes to operations, client care, and all of that.
Oh, that's a very valuable skill and
mm,
much needed down here, especially for people who have the entrepreneur brain but don't have the operations brain. So that's why you always need, that mix of both. We run our law firm on EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, and it's all about the visionary and the integrator and the relationship between the two.
so important.
So yeah. So, but let's be honest, Rocky. Okay, you were probably getting a little bored
I
with
was.
retirement, right? Yeah, and you were like, okay, wait a minute, I get to do something with my daughter, right? I mean, that's got to be so cool. So I'm sure as the little hamster on the wheel was turning and getting restless, and it probably wasn't as hard, to convince her as you make it out to be. I bet.
You know what it is with me? My brain is either off or it's on full tilt.
Mhm.
So, and it's been an incredible journey. I love coming into work. We've assembled an awesome team. Our culture at work is incredible. We have a great time. I have met so many wonderful people that are now started as clients, now they're good friends. And so it's been fabulous. I'm not complaining whatsoever.
Right.
I was like, remember Austin Powers when he lost his mojo?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, my husband would say, "What time are you getting up tomorrow?" And I'd say, "Well, when God wakes me up," because I had really nothing going on. Right, it was just kind of relaxing. So it's been nice.
Right.
Well,
And so, eh, go for it. Go for it,
I was
man.
gonna say, I think also she had to take a bit of a leap of faith because I had no experience running a firm. And so she was worried about, okay, what would it take to get this to the point where we want it to be? How long is it going to take to get clients? So all of that was a big question in her mind. And I think she thought it was going to take many, many years. And then the kind of the dynamic that we had and everything that we had to offer just propelled us to grow really fast, which she wasn't expecting.
So, well, that's a great thing to bring up because there's a lot of different components of every business. And one of the most important is marketing and sales, getting clients, getting customers, whatever that may be. And so for you guys, it's immigration. Well, and now you have some other additional services. But walk us through that when you're literally starting a law firm from scratch. Mena, you haven't been doing this for 20 years, meaning you don't have a book of business that you can leave a firm and bring and start, with certain clients. It's not like you're a personal injury lawyer where you can say, well, I'm going to take these 100 cases, and if they're all, let's say if the average case value is 10,000 to the firm, well, then we could be sitting on $1 million in future revenue to jumpstart us. So what was that like as the two of you were sitting down and brainstorming? Because without clients, there is no operations, there is no management, there is no
Right.
people, right? So marketing and sales comes first. So how did you guys walk through those things?
Well, I think at first, that was why she was reluctant. How are we going to start this? Where are the people going to come from? But when we look at the fundamentals, which were getting organized, making sure that we are treating people correctly, getting out there, we spent countless hours looking and searching for opportunities for people to figure out who we are and get in their face. We hired a marketing company right away, and we told them we're fresh, we're new, we need Google ads, we need a website built. So hiring the right professionals to help us in the beginning was crucial. And then at some point we discovered the Facebook scene, which led us to a wonderful group that we now own. The time a good friend of ours had run it, and he allowed us to, advertise on there, but also to help people. So I think when you're not after money, 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 you're after helping people. That comes through, and people naturally want to work with you. So I would spend the entire day at work, and then in the evenings, and same with her, the evenings we would go home and we would answer people's questions for free on Facebook. So we were really doing everything and anything, seizing any possible opportunity for people to get to know us and for us to help people in our shoes. And then another thing is that since we've already been through it ourselves, we knew exactly what the pitfalls were, and we were able to beat out our competition in that regard. So a lot of attorneys in immigration, they don't really understand what it feels like to immigrate themselves. They offer the service, and there's kind of that, I guess, personal touch or loving touch that's missing, where we were able to offer that to people, and we spend countless hours consoling people. I mean, I even sent one of my clients a pie to their home once because they were
That's amazing.
all upset about the process. So I think that's really those components there is what really allow us to grow.
And there's so much value in that. Now, so the first step, you're getting out, you're going everywhere because you have time,
Right.
not necessarily tons of money or tons of cases to spend in the operations and making the sausage, right? In the
Right.
production component. And you hired a marketing vendor. Now there's so many marketing vendors, there's a dime a dozen on every single corner. How did you guys just get lucky, or how did you guys actually go ahead and vet that person? Was it relying on Rocky, on your experience, or did you just kind of pick one and get a little lucky?
It was trial and error. So at first we went with a large company, thinking that was going to be because they have experience only with law firms. So we tried
Mm.
that. Some parts of it worked, some didn't. So it was, the parts that weren't working, we moved on, constantly looking for someone else. And then most recently, we were able to hire some in-house marketing, which made a huge difference because 100% of their time is dedicated to us and furthering our brand. So it was really a lot of trial and error, a lot of conversations, a lot of decisions to move in a
Yeah.
different direction.
Well, that's good too, because what I've seen in the industry is people will say, well, we're going to do marketing, or we're going to invest in this, or we're going to just, and they try it 3 months, 6 months. They pick the wrong vendor, and then they say, well, it's not going to work for me. And then they just give up. So I think it's great, to your credit, that, you were willing to stick it out and learn from maybe some mistakes. And we see that a lot with some of the nationwide law firm exclusive companies, where they're just, we're getting the lawyer tax, and, they're not delivering, overpromise and underdeliver. I know a lot of people in the industry, and it's a little unscrupulous
I
at
also think
times.
another thing that contributed to our success is that we were not willing to take no for an answer. So I never went into this thinking, oh, we're going to fail. I don't think anyone does, but it was never even a question in our minds. We always knew no matter what, no matter how many times we have to try in different ways, we're going to keep going until we're successful. Your mindset is super important when it comes to starting a firm or any business, I think.
So how did you get that mindset?
Well, I learned it from her. She
Okay.
like I said, I've watched her from the time I was about 10 years old, 8 to 10 years old, running a business. She had some pretty large businesses, and she would involve me. Like one of her businesses, it was a lot of presentations. She would bring me up on stage. Say, okay, deliver a speech. I was like,
Oh, that's great.
so, and I was part of those back scene conversations that she was having. And it was kind of instilled in me from a young age that if you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it right and you're gonna see it through no matter what. So it comes from my upbringing, and I think her as well, right?
The more people tell us no, it adds fuel to my fire.
So I love it. I love it because our fifth and final core value at Rossen Law Firm is get to yes. It's the get to yes mentality. And I look at that as a measure of resiliency and toughness. When one door closes, open three more, and don't wait for somebody to open it for you. If there's a wall in front of you, what are you going to do? Climb over it, jump around it, dig a tunnel under it. I don't know if this maybe is Minecraft or something, build a weapon and chop it down or something, right? Like figure it out, honestly and ethically, of course, but figure it out. Don't take no for an answer. And I think, I've been very blessed to speak with and have deep conversations with a lot of successful people on this show. And that's one of the common themes throughout is that the resiliency factor of just not saying no. It's so important. And I love the fact, well, it just goes to show that, it's no doubt that you guys are successful. Of course, it's easy for me to say this now, but with just, Mena, with the way you grew up, and Rocky, with your business experience, because most lawyers, most law firms don't know how to run a business. Most immigration lawyers, there's a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, but even the ones who do, they're not thinking about customer or client satisfaction, about building relationships with people, genuine relationships, right? They're just thinking about the work. And as we know, and I want everybody listening to this to really understand, the work is important, but it's also about the relationships and how you make the clients feel while you're doing the work to help them. And that's one of the main reasons why, there's a lot of doctors that just don't get it. They might fix you, but you don't necessarily feel so good mentally about and emotionally about the way it went down.
Right.
Or you don't feel that trust or real care and concern, that what people call the bedside manner. So I think that's so important in a law firm. And of course, I know you guys do too. So marketing, right? Oh, go for it. Go for it, Rocky.
I was going to say what's really important is, sometimes law firms get a bad rap. Lawyers get a bad rap. And in my experience, I don't know, it's a little bit of a stifled situation. Whereas with us, we take ourselves seriously in the work that we do, but we don't take ourselves seriously with who we are, how we interact. We like to have a good time. If someone calls the firm, 9 times out of 10, they're going to get a live person answering. And someone's calling us, that means they need help with something. And so if there isn't someone immediately available to assist them, we book them in for the next slot so that we can talk to them. And that's usually same day, if not the next day.
Which is rare in a lot of law firms.
And we, if someone needs assistance, we were away on a mother-daughter trip this weekend. And we had a client, I could tell she was stressed out. She was just causing herself to get stressed. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to give her a call. I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday. Because I knew if I left her till Monday or Tuesday, she was just going to feel terrible the whole weekend. So Mena and I called her within 5 minutes. We answered her questions. She calmed right down and she was able to then, move on with her life. Mm-hmm. So I think that side of things, genuinely caring about people, you can't make that up. You have to actually care. Right. Genuinely caring, taking care of them. You make a mistake, you fall on the sword. I messed up. This is how we're going to fix it and make it better for you. So those types of things are critical.
The Success in South Florida podcast is brought to you by the team at Rossen Law Firm. If you need DUI or criminal defense representation, call the Rossen Law Firm at 754-206-6200 or check the description of today's episode for more contact information. The Rossen Law Firm, helping good people when bad things happen so they can achieve their best futures.
And one thing that I've learned with dealing just with vendors and relationships, right? And anything that when I'm the purchaser, I want to know how we're going to deal with it, how they're going to deal with it
Right.
when something goes wrong, because something will inevitably go wrong. Okay. It almost always does. And I think the true mark of a person or a company is how they handle things when things go wrong.
Right.
And, we've seen it, right? And we've had vendors disappoint us. And then we've had some other vendors go above and beyond when things go wrong. And then we're like, okay. And in some ways that even galvanizes the relationship even more, because it's like, okay, it all goes back to trust. And the relationship. So that's something that we've really been focused on at my firm the last few years, is trying to only work with vendors who have our same core values and will be able to handle things, professionally and be good communicators and genuinely care about us when maybe things aren't perfect.
Right.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, you talked about this Facebook group. Okay, so you have a friend who's running this Facebook group. So talk to me, and now you guys own it and run it. So talk to me about this Facebook group and what is the amazing value that you guys provide.
Well, the Facebook group, I found it one day, and I reached out to the gentleman who owned it, and he was awesome. And I got on a call with him, and he built the Facebook group because he genuinely wanted to help other Canadians that were in the same shoes. And it was like a forum to share information. So Mena dedicated a lot of her time to answering questions, connecting with people, after hours, weekends, you name it. And then our business really started. We noticed we were getting quite a few leads from that site. And it was a nice lead because they knew who we were.
Right.
Sometimes they'd watched us for a period of time. And then from there, we started creating monthly webinars. Our first webinar had 6 people. Our highest webinar had 800 people registered. Like, it was just, Mena and I were walking downtown on the river one night, and a lady stopped me and she said, "You're the mother." And I'm like,
You're famous.
I said, okay. She goes, "I've been watching you guys for a year." So it really got us to build up the community. However, it wasn't our group. And so we met with the gentleman who owned it, and we said, "Listen, you're not really doing anything." Like, he was doing it for fun.
Right.
And I said, "We're really interested in, purchasing the group from you." We worked out a deal. We purchased the group so that, we didn't want the fate of our leads to be in someone else's hands.
Right. Oh, that again, another very brilliant business decision to, get control of that group. So you do this webinar. I'm sure, you promote it, the very first one, and there's 6 people.
6.
Okay. Right. Now, a lot of people, again, would have given up, would not have been resilient, would not have gotten to yes. So was that a big deterrent for you, or was that just like part of it? Like, okay, no big deal.
Honestly,
keeping
I
on
felt
going.
blessed that 6 people came. Didn't
Okay.
you?
You know what, Adam? We never, ever discussed, do you think this is going to work?
No.
Never. And Mena and
I think it's also because we like it. We like what we do. So every day we would come in, it was a pleasure. So it didn't feel burdensome to be there at all, putting in the effort.
We had a budget. We figured this is what we're going to spend over the course of the next 12 months. I said to Mena, you're not going to get a nice paycheck. Maybe you're not going to get one at all.
Right.
We need to continue to invest in our business. She's like, "I'm good with it. Let's do it."
Well, and the time to do it is when you're young. It's a lot harder to do it at 40 if you're married with kids and expenses and right, all these things. So that's great.
Yeah. So we just kept going, and sometimes we've tried things that don't work, and we're like, "Okay, let's not do that again." And the ones that work, and then the relationships have been instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
We've met some incredible people that have become friends, where we can refer business back and forth to one another, really grow our ecosystem. We've been invited to do speaking engagements in Canada. Like, it's just been a real honor, and we've met some incredible people, and our clients they're awesome. They're from all different walks of life, doing all kinds of different things. And, this weekend, I didn't even tell you, we got invited to a beautiful dinner. Our client is in town, and he said, "I want you to bring the whole family. It's me this weekend. You pick the restaurant. I want to say thank you. And, we live for those moments that are wonderful.
I think part of that also is staying humble and remembering where you came from and remembering the experience that you had. Because I think a lot of attorneys, they think, oh, I'm a hot shot. I can use all this fancy language. Just treat people the way you would want to be treated. And don't forget where you came from and what those people are going through. You could easily be in that situation just like them, right? So I think that's also really important because a lot of people say, "Oh, this is like no other experience I've had with a law firm before," because you guys actually sit down, offer me a coffee, we have a conversation like friends. So I think that's also really important.
And Mena makes bean cappuccino or espresso.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. See, it must be the Italian roots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm smiling so much because it rings so true to me. I mean, that's what we do at my firm. It's all relationship driven. However they find us, but it's based on relationships. And when you have a passion for helping others through the way that you do, whether it's through immigration, Canadians coming through immigration, whether it's for us, with people who have been accused or arrested for a crime, we have a big passion for mental health and substance abuse. It doesn't feel like work, right? When you're sitting down and talking to a client, again, right? I'm sure it feels like you're talking to a friend and not like, oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do this and this is so annoying or frustrating or terrible, right? It's like, wow, I get to have a conversation and help somebody today. This is fun. This is exciting. It's fulfilling. And that's so important for me and my firm. And I know it. That's why I wanted to have you guys on, because I know you guys are the exact, you're our spirit animal for immigration.
Wonderful.
So that's amazing.
That's good to know.
So now, as you also talked about just kind of understanding pitfalls. So as you're growing now, right? So now you've hit that first layer of, okay, we got a bit of a marketing machine, right? We have a bit of a sales machine, and sales is a good thing, not a bad thing, especially when you're doing it to help people. But now we need the factory, the operations. We need to make sure that the work is getting done by the right people. We need to make sure that we're building some profit into the business so we can reinvest. And, I know Mena might not have gotten a nice paycheck for a while, but eventually you want a nice paycheck, and I'm sure you got, and different things, because that, you do need money to enjoy things and to survive and pay bills, and then balancing the reinvestment in the business. So now that you're out, or once you're out of kind of the survival mode, which I will not forget my humble beginnings either of a criminal defense lawyer, almost 20 years ago. I know, and I'm thankful for those humble beginnings. How are you working on turning it into a business and scaling and going through some of the ups and downs of running a business and running a growing business?
Well, my mom's gonna laugh, but sometimes we argue over where to spend money next. I think the building out of divisions now is super important, and building layers of management. So we recently hired a managing attorney who's taking on a lot of the consultations, meetings with the legal team, with the paralegals, managing the paralegals. So then we hired, head of marketing. We're about to hire an operations specialist. So building out and being able to invest back into the firm is super important, even if you feel at the time like, oh, this is kind of going out on a limb. You have to reinvest and try, you kind of take a leap of faith in order to do that. Most recently, we were thinking even of expanding our office space, and we've been going back and forth, which space, what do we do? What's the move? But I think you have to, it's kind of like a fish in a tank, right? If you keep the fish in a tiny tank, he's never going to grow. You put him in a bigger tank.
Yep.
So it's always kind of a battle. That's tough, knowing when to spend the next dollar and where and how to set that up. But layers of management and taking a leap of faith.
And I think the most important part is we have to always be slightly overstaffed, because we do not under any circumstances want to jeopardize the client experience. So as we grow, yes, we put processes and people in place, but we also, our key thing is to make sure that our clients are properly being taken care of. They're getting call or email, we get back to them within 24 to 48 hours, or someone answering their questions. So that's always really super important. So we've
I
been
agree.
able to, do both.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And when you're talking about leaps of faith, it's funny because 10 years ago that, I was stressing about the $5,000 decisions.
Yeah.
And now it's, the $50,000 decisions or the $500,000 decisions. And so all it is another zero, but it still feels real in the moment. And you still have a little bit of that fear. But I think really one of the keys to success is not the absence of fear, it's moving forward smartly and just having the right plan and going for it in the presence of fear, right, despite the fear. And I think that's very important because what I've seen over and over and over again, especially in the legal industry, is fear holds people back.
Yeah.
There's so many people have been amazing, brilliant legal minds, and then you say, well, why didn't you ever do this or grow or X, Y, and Z or whatever? That it's kind of like the E-Myth Revisited. If you ever read that book from Michael Gerber, it's they talk about the story of Sarah's Pies and opening a pie shop because she makes great pies. So she's the ultimate technician, right? It could be a dentist, could be a doctor, could be an accountant, but they've never grown a real business because of maybe fear and just the technical skills overriding everything else. And I think it's, obviously to your credit, and I see it as well in my firm. It's about just making those decisions, even though you have the fear, and not just kind of being reckless, but being careful, deliberate, planned out, and then just saying, we're going for it.
Well, because
You know?
it's easy to camp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a certain point, it's pretty good. What's that?
Yeah.
If you're not on the, if you're not,
Yeah, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
no, God gives you the good graces to give you the ability to do what you do, and you just got to take that and run with it.
I think also there's some risk management involved,
Yeah.
right? So I'm the one, I think I'm more of a risk taker than she is a little bit. I'll go to her and I'll say,
older now.
let's do this. And then she'll say, okay, well, let's think about what will happen. What's the worst case scenario?
Right.
Then we look at it and we're like, okay, not so bad. We could,
Right.
Right.
Right. Most of the time when you look at it, you're like, well, the worst case scenario is not that bad, and it's highly unlikely that it's actually going to happen. So what's the worst realistic scenario? Oh, okay. And one of the things also that I've learned is when you do have a good marketing and sales machine, if you make a few, strategic mistakes, it's okay because they're learning experiences.
right.
And that's so important, especially when lawyers tend to be perfectionists. For me, when I went to the University of Miami Law School, I'd never been in a situation, and I've gone to very good schools, but where every single person was as smart as me, if not smarter. And that was a little tough at times for me. And, so many people have to be perfect, right? You're in an environment where the vast majority of people have never gotten a B in their life. And if they did, it was only when they didn't try or blew something off. And experiencing that of trying and not getting an A was very hard for me and some other people in law school, especially when I went to Miami, because Miami curved on a C, not on a B. They were very tough with their grades. But just the law profession kind of breeds the perfectionism.
Yeah.
If we miss a deadline, client can get a warrant, right? If in civil law you miss a deadline, that could be malpractice claim. Somebody can lose their visa or some type of issue or lose a lawsuit. It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars or their freedom, whatever. So it's a big deal, and you have to always be on. But being able to separate, the legal work from the business mindset is really tough. But when you have the right coaches and mentors, I think it's a blessing, and it's something that can really be a force multiplier for people, in their firms.
Great.
Yeah. So as far as where you're at now, you said you got, an amazing group of 20 people. Where, what are the next plans? What's that next level? Is it number of people? Is it number of locations? Is it, I know you've added on some additional services. So as you guys are plotting and scheming and planning, right, behind closed doors, what's next for you guys?
Next step is to expand what we currently have, and then start getting into different markets. I think the very next one will be Latin America, where we want to start offering our services there because up until now it's been primarily Canadians, right? But we can offer our services to other countries as well. So we want to start going after the Latin American market and really expanding on immigration, the types of services that more intricate services that we can offer. We also have an attorney joining us in the fall who's going to be taking on estate planning. So
That's
their
exciting.
main goal is to grow and pump the estate planning side of things. So in terms of multiple locations, we haven't really looked at that yet. We're looking at a space down the hall to expand our current office, kind of
Okay.
double in square footage. But I could see in the next 5 years having multiple locations, multiple attorneys, and different types of services to different countries.
And
Yeah.
locally,
I think, I'm sorry.
and locally as well.
Yeah.
Local
Yeah.
market.
And I think having that 1, 3, 5 year vision is so important because, we run on EOS, a business system. And before we've been running on it since 2021. And before we started running on it, if you asked me in 2018, 2019 what I wanted, I would say, well, I just want to grow. Well, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? How many people, how many cases, what kind of cases, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I just want to grow. I want to make more money. I want to help more people, want to make more money, want to have a bigger impact. Okay, well, what does that look like? I have no idea, just more of it all. And so that's helped us tremendously in the firm with our business planning, our budgeting, our decision-making process. And we're not perfect by any means. We still have a long way to go. And we've kind of been in a mode the last maybe year and a half of 2 steps forward, 1.5 steps back. But that's kind of the way business works. And you're always learning and growing. But having that process for us has really helped for us to be process driven, even with the ideas.
I think that's very
Yeah.
important. And we
Yeah.
struggle
Well,
with that because our personality is more, just do things in the
Let's go.
moment. Let's go.
I know, me too. But I really learned, and it's really been helpful to us. Sometimes I'll get frustrated too, and I'll just say, "Oh man, like, let's go! I want to go faster, faster, faster." But we really have to have that balance with it. But if you have a very clear vision of where you want to be, then you can go fast. You just need to sometimes, I think, sharpen the axe first before you start cutting to really hone in on it. And that's something that I'm still learning and growing from because I'm fast. I want to go. I get impatient. I think that's one of my sometimes superpower, sometimes kryptonite is being impatient. Just depends on the day and the issue, what it is, if it's good or bad. But yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you guys have built something so special there. And I know, you have client testimonials and reviews and different client stories, because as lawyers, we are, whether you're a trial lawyer or not, we're storytellers, whether it's on paper, whether it's verbally, and to be able to share those stories with your clients. I'm sure that Facebook group is just booming with happy people that are getting the advice that they need. And I have no doubt that you guys are going to take over, absolutely take over South Florida and the world. Yeah.
Millions. No, I mean billions.
Billions.
We make millions.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So for anybody listening to this, what advice do you guys have? So maybe it's a young lawyer listening to this who's just, or it could be an older lawyer, an experienced lawyer who's just kind of scared, not sure what to do, about taking the leap or not. What would you tell them?
So when I was taking the I took the bar exam twice. First time I missed it by a few points.
Okay.
Second time I had to fix my mindset. And I realized that everything in life is about mindset, how you look at things. So I have right to my left a poster of a saying that I kept repeating to myself. It's not over when you lose, it's over when you quit. So you could get kicked so many times, you could be down, you could think this is never going to happen for me, but don't give up. Keep trying. If you have a dream, you can make it happen. You just have to keep working at it till it comes to fruition.
I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So you know what? I think I'm going to go on Etsy and look for some cool posters that say the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. And so Rocky, what advice do you have?
Sometimes you got to go out on a limb because that's where the fruit is.
Okay.
I believe in calculated risk. I don't believe in, crazy risk that could end you up, like you could end up broke or, not being able to put a meal on the table. So over the course of my life, every time I looked at something, I always said, what's the worst case scenario? And how do I get out of it if this doesn't work? And if it's calculated risk, then you can keep going, because even if you get knocked back a couple times, it's not going to be at the end of your story. You can just figure out a new way to move forward. And I've practiced that over the course of my life. I've had some major setbacks. I've had some major wins, but you can't go to the casino with $10 and hope to walk out with 10,000. Right. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
So it's got to kind of match. What are you willing to do? What do you want out of life? And if it's sad when I see people who are like, even the way that they speak, like the words that you put out there. Like I taught my kids, even if you don't have a penny in your pocket, you never say, I'm broke. Just never say that. Say, no, thank you. I don't want to buy that right now. Because when you put those negative things out there, you become what you say. So I think it's really important, like Mena said, mindset, calculated risk, go for it, man. It's awesome. Once you get there, it doesn't matter how many times you've been punched on the way. Once you get to that goal, it's incredible. Then set a new one. Go again. That's what life's all about, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. I absolutely could not agree more. And I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction. What you said, you get what you give, and just, you have to put out positive, encouraging vibes. You have to be confident and assertive, and you have to take calculated risks and know that it's going to work, because if you are negative Nancy, that's what you're going to get. It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm very big in that. And
I just want to share one other thing with you that I think is really important. So my mom and dad immigrated from Italy to Canada. They both had a grade 3 education. So they arrive in Canada, they've got no money, no education, they just knew how to work. And my mom, I probably still can't take her in a wrestling match. She's 83 years old. And my mom went to work and she was the entrepreneur. And when I was a little kid, she opened a shoe store, imported shoes from Italy. And I remember she had a book so that she could write a check. She'd look up the translation of it. And they bought real estate. They became landlords, all with limited language and limited education. And I watched them have such a successful life. Financially, they took risks, and that's where I got it from. I learned, so it was just a natural progression, right? But when I look at what my parents went through, I'm thinking, this is your native country, in your native tongue, there's all kinds of opportunities for you. I mean, just go and seize the day and make it happen,
Yeah, beautifully said, Rocky. And I'd love to see your mom kick your butt. I think it'd be great.
I'd like to see that too.
Probably. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. I would not mess with a tough Italian woman. No way.
Listen, she's a front end case loader and cleans her own snow. She still lives on a 10-acre farm in Caledon, Ontario. Yeah, like you just don't mess with her. She's
that's cool.
She takes care of things.
That's really, really, really cool. I can see, just how successful you guys are because of that, the blue collar mentality, right? But now you guys are putting it in a white collar profession with skill and ability. And that's something I always do say. I said it to my basketball teams when I was a high school basketball coach, and we talk about it in the firm all the time. We're like, our lawyers will outwork the prosecution. They'll outwork the police. They'll outwork other criminal defense lawyers. That blue collar mentality. We just happen to be highly technically skilled in a white collar profession. And I think when you combine those two things, that's where the magic's made. So now, if anybody wants to reach out, connect, whether it's just friendly business advice, mentorship, or whether they need your services, what's the best way for them to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, they can go on our website, MaimoneLegal.com. We also have a Canadian website, movetotheusa.ca, and has a fun ring to it. They can give us a call, 888-863-3207. Or they can come visit us in person. We're on Cypress Creek Road.
Yeah.
Right. You're my neighbors. You're right down the street.
Yeah, and if you want to email us, we have intake@maimonelegal.com. You can call. I mean, if you want to schedule a complimentary initial call with us, if you call the firm or if you go on our website, you'll see a Calendly link there that will allow you to book a call with one of our team members. So any way you want. If you want to send some
Want to come by for a coffee? We
some
can have a
smoke
coffee.
signals.
Right. One of the best,
Easy.
right? An amazing cappuccino.
A nice cappuccino.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. And I think this has been a fantastic episode to learn more about you guys and your journey. Really inspiring stuff. And I have no doubt that you guys are just going to kind of shoot to the moon. And, hopefully we can have you on in a few years talking about the empire that you're building. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And I think this is great information for everybody.
Congratulations on the success of your firm as well. I know you've worked hard. You've been at it a little longer than us, but I think you've done some great things, and congratulations on that. And thank you again for having us as guests.
Yeah. Oh, it's my pleasure. Look, if I got a great job, I can sit here and talk to two like-minded professionals about cool, fun stuff. Like, this is amazing. I love doing this. I love helping people. I love meeting people. I mean, it's just, I'm very fortunate to be in this position, but it's a lot of hard work, and it's continue a lot of hard work. But when you love what you do, to me, it doesn't feel like work. I don't think of it as work. So that's another thing. Anybody listening to this, I want you really to know. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
Have a
Thank
great
you so
day.
much. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.